I think to embrace America and to be proud of America is to be proud of everything that is good about it and also question everything that is bad about it.
The word American. How does one truly define it? If you do a quick Google search, the result reads, a native or citizen of the United States. Meet Jose Antonio Vargas, a 33-year-old Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. He came to the San Jose State campus to talk with students and premiere his film, Documented. Vargas was raised in the Bay Area, and he defines himself as an American. But for years, Vargas has been hiding a secret. He is an undocumented immigrant. So does this not make him an American?
I am only fighting for the America that I think can be better. And I am proud of this country because I feel like we're in this together.
Vargas was born in the Philippines, living a very simple life with his mother. In 1993, at the age of 12, his mother sent him to California to live with his grandparents. It was not until he turned 16 that he discovered that he could not get a driver's license because his Social Security card was fake. Undeterred, Vargas turned to journalism, a passion inspired by one of his high school teachers. He eventually landed jobs with well-known publications such as the Washington Post.
So for me, writing has always been about existing. It has always been about like, yo, I'm on the paper. Like, I dare you to tell me I don't exist.
The guilt of hiding behind a newspaper byline finally hit him, and Vargas decided to reveal his secret to the whole world. In 2011, Vargas wrote an essay for the New York Times Magazine, where he came out as undocumented and became the poster boy for immigration rights in the United States. His writings and filmmaking have helped him spread a message. There is more to being an American than owning a driver's license or a passport.
When I think of America, I think of the history of this country. I think of, the fact that this is a country of countries. This has always been a country of countries, right? I mean, I believe in American exceptionalism because I do believe that America is exceptional because we are a country of countries. And now the challenge is, how do we maintain that? How do we sustain that?
Jose Antonio Vargas continues to advocate for immigration rights here in America and does so through his documentary, which SJSU was honored to premiere here at the Morris Daly Auditorium. Let's step inside to find out more about Documented, a film by an undocumented American.
I'm going to tell you something that I haven't told a lot of people. I'm actually an undocumented immigrant.
For more than 2 years after Jose Antonio Vargas openly revealed his undocumented status, he had cameras follow him. He wrote, produced, and directed a film about his life. San Jose State became the first university on the West Coast to premiere his film, Documented, at a screening in Morris Daly Auditorium. The film chronicles Vargas' travels around the country in behalf of immigration reform. He spoke to residents and even crashed an Iowa rally for then-presidential candidate Mitt Romney. Vargas even wound up winning over an undocumented immigrant opponent in Alabama.
Good.
That's good, man.
That's great.
The film is also a very personal story about his mother, who he hasn't seen in almost 20 years.
Jose Antonio Vargas.
After the screening, Vargas shared that he was hesitant to make the film at first.
And I have to tell you, I didn't do this film. This is what's really hard for me. I'm supposed to be the one telling a story. I'm not supposed to be in the story, right?
He does hope it changes people's perspective on undocumented individuals.
You cannot change the politics of this issue unless we actually change the culture. Until we get people to realize that that woman or that man who crossed the border isn't a criminal trying to take away from you. It's a mother and it's a father trying to provide for their kids.
The movie screening was followed by a question and answer session. The film hit an emotional chord with the audience. The first person to comment emotionally expressed the impact the film had on her.
Not a lot of Filipinos who are brave enough like you. Not a lot of Filipinos who can look up to you like that.
15 undocumented students stepped forward and expressed their gratitude and shared their stories.
Why are you nervous? I'm not going to bite.
it's just humbling to see that someone in the same boat as me, not just being undocumented, but also being a gay man. Growing up, I always felt like I wasn't alone.
When I grew up, it was taboo. You don't tell anybody, you know? And so I always grew up thinking that I couldn't tell my counselors and I couldn't tell any of my friends. So it's kind of like we grew up right next to each other, but it was a parallel reality. And I always felt like I was the only one. You know, I knew that there were undocumented workers and people that were hanging out at that Home Depot, but I thought I was the only undocumented young person. Yeah. Which makes no sense, but I think that's how I dealt with it since I couldn't tell anybody.
I didn't meet anybody else who was my age who was undocumented until 2008.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I had the opposite in thinking that I wanted to run away from it. I was the only reporter in Washington, D.C. named Jose. And yet in my 5 years at the Washington Post, I think I wrote one immigration story. I just wanted to run away from it as fast as I could, right? I did not want to be anything about it at all.
Those who did not share their experience during the Q&A still felt the film was powerful and shared their thoughts with us. On campus, Destiny Palacios, Update News.
People left the movie with a powerful message. We asked moviegoers what they thought of the documentary.
It was very eye-opening. So I'm a Filipino American. Both my parents came here a couple of 20 years ago, but they came here legally. And then I never really looked into Filipinos coming to the country illegally. I never really thought it was that big of a deal. And then it made me realize that how the struggle is for those people, and it made me appreciate my family. They went through the steps and they worked so hard, and then I sometimes take it for granted, being an American.
Oh, the documentary was outstanding. I very much appreciated it. I thought he did an excellent job in portraying not just his own story, but as he said in some of the Q&A, getting to enough detailed level that it also became a universal story.
It's not just Latinos, it's not just Asians, it's everybody, even the ones that come here that don't have the papers, and also those that benefit from their work and their contributions to our society.
People need to be aware that this is a real issue and not something happening to other people. These are our friends.
Immigrants aren't just Hispanics. As you can see, he was talking about there's 100,000 that are from South Africa. There's 300,000 people that are from Europe. They're also immigrants. They're not just Hispanics.
Yeah, it was great to see that there was a story to it that was far beyond sort of the talking points that people are used to hearing just on mainstream media, things about get in line and things like that. That people sort of end up fueling hate for a lot of people who are on sides, basically.
We're all people. We're all individuals. We all have dreams. We all have a voice, and that we all have the right to live our dreams no matter where we are in the world.
Legislation called the DREAM Act allows students under 30 years old to legally pursue higher education. It's unclear exactly how many so-called dreamers attend San Jose State, but Jose Antonio Vargas' visit gave them the courage to tell their own stories. Ingles Garcia was 13 years old when he came to America from Ensenada, Mexico. He says his mother had already been in the U.S. for 6 years and he needed her, so he called her.
Went to Mexico, and then she basically told us that in order for us to move to the United States, we were gonna have to walk for 3 days. After a few days, we met. And then I was on a trip to moving to the United States.
Garcia realized he was undocumented when he tried applying for college and needed documentation.
I didn't have them, and that's when I basically faced my first big obstacles, or my first realization that I'm undocumented.
He believes education is a human right, and no matter your status, everyone should have access to it.
If you deprive people from having access to education, what's left, just to live you're closing options for individuals.
The DREAM Act passed in 2012.
In fall 2013, I got financial aid for the first time ever. So, and that was very emotional, wow, for the first time ever, I'm getting financial aid.
David Gonzalez was 12 years old when he came to the United States from Michoacán, Mexico. He faced challenges coming to America for the first time.
It was difficult at first trying to adjust to the new country and new culture. I had trouble speaking the English language.
Gonzalez puts education first in his daily life, especially knowing that he has more opportunities here in America.
My parents always pushed me to do good. They told me that the reason that they came to this country is because they wanted to see me succeed. And I feel like it's my duty to, succeed in life.
Gonzalez is involved with the National Immigration Youth Alliance, NIA. They are trying to reunite parents with their children. In Gonzalez's case, it's his mother.
I have not seen her in 3 years. It's basically, they're gonna help them apply for political asylum because of the violent conditions in Mexico and Latin America.
Garcia and Gonzalez were among 15 undocumented students who attended Jose Antonio Vargas' film screening.
Hopefully this movie will be able to get awareness because this is something that needs to be done now.
Jose was able to portray his own experience, his own story. I feel that speaks for millions of us who cannot really share our own stories.
Jose Antonio Vargas came to San Jose State to receive the William Randolph Hearst Foundation Award. It is the first time an American journalism school has honored him. At Dwight Bento Hall, Vargas spoke to more than 70 journalism and public relations students. He was highly critical.
You're in your generation of journalists, this is what I'm most worried about. Because you guys you have grown up completely spoiled with the internet, in which everything is a search engine away, everything is a click away, everything is a phone call away.
Vargas encourages students to be journalists with passion and to embrace the diversity that is on this campus, that he believes is taken for granted.
Like, diversity has always been here, it's like a given. By the way, we take it for granted. It's not until you get out of this area where you realize the country doesn't look like this.
African American Studies student Kaylin Johnson empathizes with Vargas.
I felt like I could connect in a way, especially how just being a minority, that's an instant connection. Being a minority, it's hard being a minority sometimes because we always have this cloud over our head, regardless of if I just come and I'm like, oh, I'm Kaylin, but I'm black. I'm black, and then I'm Kaylin. It's my ethnicity.
After answering students' questions, Vargas had one of his own.
I would love to ask this question of the whole campus about what is diversity at San Jose State University?
Vargas is encouraging his students to look for the answer. In San Jose, Ingrid Almaraz, Update News.
Jose Antonio Vargas has been an activist in changing the use of the word illegal to undocumented in media stories. While at SJSU, he talked about the conflict of the word and how it made students feel.
What does it feel like, growing up, especially in this area, listening to people call us illegal? What was that like?
It feels like they don't really understand, They just group a whole bunch of people together.
That we're not criminals. We're not illegal. Illegal is a way to dehumanize us.
The director for Students Advocating for Higher Education, Dr. Julia Curry, says the word illegal does affect her students.
I would never use the word illegal. And most people that work in the area of immigration that are thinking about immigrants as human beings wouldn't use the word illegal either. And part of it has to do with that, it diminishes people even further.
Former newspaper reporter and now journalism educator Richard Craig says he understands why the Associated Press changed the word.
Strictly speaking, yes, you could still use it and it would be accurate, but does that mean that we have to use something just because in one usage it's accurate? There's nothing inaccurate about using the word undocumented.
The Spartan Daily follows the AP Style Guide, which states that you can't use the word illegal or undocumented when talking about a person. Newspapers across the country, including the New York Times, are still using the word illegal when talking about immigrants to the United States. The Los Angeles Times and the Associated Press have decided to stop using the term illegal immigrant. Heather Miller, Update News.
Jose Antonio Vargas' talk definitely left an impact with students on campus. Here are just some of their reactions.
I think it was very bold, but yet risky, just because of the fact that our society already has a stigma against the LBGT community. And, you know, at the fact that he's a minority as well, I think that was very risky, yet, you know, he set the tone for society because, you know, who else is going to do it?
He's undocumented, he's Filipino, he's gay, and it's like he's a triple minority. It just put things into perspective. It's like, it's just gonna make him, I feel like the world's gonna look at him differently, but I feel like it's really empowering because he comes out like this. And just because he's undocumented doesn't mean he's uneducated.
I think it's really great that he was able to come and tell a story about himself that's really kind of controversial. So I think it's good that he was able to come and give information about himself. I think that was really brave.
I thought it was a great experience, especially for journalism students, because there's the issue of being involved but not being involved in your news stories. I think that the issues now are especially relevant to our generation, and it was nice to have somebody come in and kind of shed a light on how we can do that.
That he sort of took that step from journalist to activist, and in a climate where you're not really supposed to do that necessarily, but people are doing it more and more these days, and I feel like there's a role for people who do things like that.
I think it's really important for students to be aware of the issues that he was talking about, whether it's illegal immigration, all the issues that he was talking about, because those are the problems, gay rights being another one, those are the problems that our generation is going to have to solve. And the sooner we start thinking about them, the better.
I feel like sometimes as students we get caught up in the bubble of what's happening right now, what's happening on Facebook, Instagram, social media, and we forget that there's a bigger world out there. There's the world of politics, there's a world of social issues like race, homosexuality, discrimination, things like that, and we forget that. And so when we have someone come in, it kind of makes us take a step back and want to broaden our reach and broaden what we want to talk about.
The word about Jose Antonio Vargas coming to this campus spread quickly, from speaking in various classrooms to debuting his documentary. The Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist had a very busy schedule, but despite that all, Update News got a chance to sit down and talk to him.
We need to solve this problem.
And illegal immigration.
Illegal immigrants.
It
is a national security
concern.
The politics of this are very complicated.
American to me is something that I had to earn. American to me is something I fight for. American to me is something that I find most inclusive in me, right? When I think of America, I think of the history of this country. I think of, the fact that this is a country of countries. This has always been a country of countries, right? I mean, I believe in American exceptionalism because I do believe that America is exceptional, because we are a country of countries. And now the challenge is, how do we maintain that? How do we sustain that? If you think about it, American history and American demographics have always been defined by the black or white dynamic. You're either black or white. And I think the past 40 years, people don't know much about the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act that actually changed the way America looks, and which means that the country is never going to be white ever again. And we're going to have to contend with the mixing of America in a way. And I think immigration, documented immigration and undocumented immigration, is it's this married, integrated thing that I think we're still trying to kind of understand. In some ways, the beauty of America and the challenge of America is there are multiple Americas in America, right? Like, the America in Birmingham is not the America in San Jose, which is not the America in Des Moines. And I think in some ways that makes it really, again, beautiful, but also very challenging. And I think now it's so rare that we as a country, outside of the Super Bowl and the Oscars, actually have a collective conversation on something. You remember the Coca-Cola ad?
Beautiful for spacious skies. Por tus olas de granos ámbar.
I remember that airing. Actually, I was really flattered because people on Facebook were like, hey, Coca-Cola just defined American. So I was really happy about that. We had nothing to do with the ad. But the ad was it really provoke reactions, right? Like hearing that song you know, being sung in like Spanish. I remember when I heard a Tagalog part, I was like, did I just hear Tagalog in the Super Bowl commercial? Like, what just happened? But that's what America looks like. And I remember on Twitter, many people were like, speak English. And that's, I think, is what we're going to have to contend with, you know, and try to kind of confront in the most constructive way we can.
So after everything you've gone through and dealt with, do you consider yourself proud?
I have no other choice but to be proud. I am proud of the ugly, beautiful, contradictory, inspiring, challenging, infuriating history that is America. Right? I think to embrace America and to be proud of America is to be proud of everything that is good about it and also question everything that is bad about it. I am only fighting for the America that I think can be better. And I am proud of this country because I feel like we're in this together. America was something we created. It was an idea that was born on a piece of paper that was signed by, you know, men who thought that black people were 3/5 of a man, who stole the land from Native Americans, who enslaved African Americans and Asian Americans, the Irish and the Chinese who built the railroads, the Filipino migrants who built most of California and the Western, you know, migrant world that we live in. So all of these things to me are like, I feel like what's so lacking in the way we talk about America is the fullness of the history of America. And I think that is something we all have to be proud of and something we all must confront and embrace.
Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Alone.